Over the past few years, video games have received varying levels of attention from social media. Most of this attention focuses on the apparent correlation between video games and aggressive behavior, depression, and addiction. But recently, video games have been brought into a more positive light. The research into the negative effects of gaming should be taken seriously. However, recent studies have also shown plenty of positive effects that gaming can have. I'd like to talk about both the positive and negative effects of gaming, as well as how to utilize the positives while avoiding the negatives, and how they can teach society as a whole. Before I move any further though, I have to say that the research into video games and their effects aren't quite as black and white as people may think. It's difficult to define one game as being either good or bad, simply because it could potentially instill either negative or positive effects in a player.
Who do you think you are, boy? You're nothing but a filthy, cast-off little beggar. You're not fit to touch these objects.
What the hell do you think you're doing? He's just a kid.
Stop him!
As it turns out, there are plenty of mental and physical effects gaming can have on players. To list a few, quote, video games can help people see better, learn more quickly, develop greater mental focus, become more spatially aware, estimate more accurately, and multitask more effectively. Some video games can even make young people more empathetic, helpful, and sharing, end quote. One instance of these effects were observed when one Dr. Bavelier attempted to test how well subjects could maintain visual concentration when they could not hear. But when test running the experiment on a colleague and some of his friends, they performed much better than she had expected. It was later revealed that this was because they regularly played action games such as Counter-Strike. Quote, Bavelier and Green hypothesized that this type of game had distinct effects on the brain because achieving a high score required players to react quickly while processing information in their peripheral vision, multitasking, making predictions, and processing the constant player feedback. End quote. To confirm this, they both conducted other experiments where they assigned one group to play a limited amount of Medal of Honor each week, while the other played Tetris. These and further tests support the association between playing fast-paced action games and enhanced reaction times and spatial awareness. As you may have already guessed, many of the effects games have on players depend on what kind of game it is, or more specifically, the nature of the content present within the game, the gameplay, and the objective. For instance, in the last example, the second group had played Tetris rather than Medal of Honor. Their focus on the environment had not improved as much as those from Group 1, but that doesn't mean that Tetris didn't benefit them. Quote, in August of 2013, British researchers found that certain video games, particularly strategic games such as StarCraft, can increase a player's brain flexibility, which the scientists described as a cornerstone of human intelligence. End quote. In this experiment, the participants either played StarCraft or The Sims. Those who played StarCraft scored higher on psychological tests in areas pertaining to flexible thinking. Tetris may not be as a good example as StarCraft is more complex and demands more attention and higher levels of thinking, but it may have the same effect on players, as do other strategy and puzzle games. The same goes for all video game genres. The effects aren't limited to one genre or one game within a genre. To put this into perspective, action games are often associated with enhanced spatial awareness and reaction times, puzzle games with enhanced problem-solving skills, and games in general with enhanced creative thinking and overall emotional satisfaction. I don't have Medal of Honor, so I'm using footage from the Uncharted series, but I can assure you that the benefits are the same. I have a little more to share about the benefits of gaming, but first I'd like to get the negatives out of the way. Like all things, the effects that games have on individuals, whether positive or negative, have everything to do with both the amount of time spent playing and with the content found in the game, according to recent studies. Too much time spent on even the most kid-friendly game can increase the risk of aggressive behavior, but one could also be affected by the context of a game's themes. It's best to avoid games that have a strong gender bias, as well as portray women as weak or promiscuous sexual objects. Games that do not make the player think for themselves and reflect on the thoughts and actions of the characters involved should also be avoided. Many games nowadays have a lot of violence and sexual themes, and while no game is perfect in its morals, people should consider what the game is trying to say about potentially destructive behavior. Whether people realize it or not, or whether they even want to admit it, performing actions in video games has a sort of subconscious connection with our psyche. Studies have long shown the link between viewing aggressive material and having violent behavior, and this is believed to be the case due to repetitive action in games, which has long been held as an effective teaching method. In other words, the more an action is observed, the more likely the viewer is to repeat that action, even if they otherwise would not. Many of us would like to believe that we are better than that, especially as adolescents or adults, that we think on a higher level. But the truth is that to some degree it affects all of us. This can also lead to desensitization on real-world issues, numbing people's emotional and moral responses because they've seen it before. One example of the positive effects of puzzle gaming from my personal experience is a game called Portal 2. In this game, the premise is that you're a test subject that has been in stasis for a long time, waking up in a run-down, abandoned testing facility. In the first game, you had destroyed the homicidal supercomputer GLaDOS, who ran the facility, and through certain circumstances accidentally revive her in the sequel.
Power up, complete.
Okay, listen. Alright, new plan. Act natural. We've done nothing wrong. Hello!
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me.
You did what? Oh no! No! Oh no! Ah!
Okay, look, we both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science, you monster. I will say, though, that since you went to all the trouble of waking me up, you must really, really love to test. I love it too. There's just one small thing we need to take care of first.
GLaDOS has a thing for killing humans by putting them through absurdly dangerous tests, and upon her rebirth, she throws you back into her testing grounds. You need to solve increasingly difficult puzzles to survive, and these puzzles revolve around a highly innovative mechanic. You use an arm-mounted gun to produce portals through which you can travel. Go in one portal, come out the other. These puzzles become more challenging as you begin to implement new objects used for specific tasks, as well as the laws of physics, such as momentum, to solve the puzzles. Not only did this game have an entertaining and well-conceived storyline, it truly made me think outside the box, not just from its difficulty, but from the entire concept of using portals in general.
Well done. The Enrichment Center reminds you that although circumstances may appear bleak, you are not alone. All Aperture Science personality constructs will remain functional in apocalyptic, low-power environments of as few as 1.1 volts.
Another game I love to death is Okami. In this game, with the graphical style similar to that of Japanese watercolor paintings, you become the sun goddess Amaterasu in the form of a white wolf, and must stop evil from spreading over the land, which was caused by the resurrection of the eight-headed serpent Orochi, who had been dead for 100 years. To restore the land, you must fight demons and help civilians by using the Celestial Brush, a divine tool that allows you to paint things into existence, everything from repairing a bridge to causing a lightning storm. This game so easily defines gaming as art, literally and metaphorically, as well as provides a cultural awareness by combining numerous Japanese myths and legends into one story. This game does bring into light a few real-life situations as well, but to me, the main focus of this game is the beauty of nature and also faith, even if you may not believe in that particular one. Not all games have to have a strong message or to challenge controversy. Sometimes it can simply focus on emotion. Because of this, Okami and its world are both beautiful and touching, and unique in its own right. Despite my apprehension towards content earlier, I also believe that the effects of violence in video games is contextual. I won't pretend that viewing issues under a contextual microscope is black and white, or that I have a perfect mastery over allowing myself to play either good or bad games, but I believe that themes like violence, language, and sex can be included in games in a positive way. These things shouldn't be glorified, but they should be portrayed in a healthy way that challenges the controversy of these issues in today's society, as well as present them in a respectable manner that can set an example for the player. After all, if violence can subconsciously teach someone to be more aggressive, what if a game shows an alternative method or constantly brings the theme under scrutiny, forcing the players to think, is this the right thing to do in this situation? When is the right time? The Batman Arkham series is one example of violence in context. Batman is a superhero, attempting to protect his city from criminal activities after the tragic murder of his parents. While he fights without sympathy for criminals, he refuses to kill and even saves them if they are in danger. He doesn't terrorize these people for fun. He uses fear against those who cause fear. The case for the Arkham games as a good example of violence in context could be argued, but that's just it. These games still make you question even Batman's views of justice. Watch this clip from Arkham Origins after Batman has captured a villain named Anarchy.
You keep cleaning up after everyone, Batman, and no one's going to learn to take care of themselves. The ones that don't hate you, they'll start to rely on you, depend on you. And if something happens to you, if you get old or bored or die, then what? Or do you not consider the world that revolves around you? You're a hypocrite, running around dispensing justice, telling people what they can and can't do. You're ensuring Gotham's freedom, provided it conforms to your twisted view. Whatever pleases the bad. That it? You're not a hero. You're a despot. You don't enforce justice. You suppress it. I think I figured it out. You didn't take me down because I broke the law. No. No, you took me down because you don't want the competition. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Let me ask you something. You ever wonder if you're the reason the city's so messed up? Because I have. A lot of us have. And I'm starting to think we're right.
Another example I'd like to use that may be more well represented is a game called Valkyria Chronicles. Why? Because this is a war strategy game, but with a twist. Contrary to most war games, this game speaks against war. It speaks about the horrors of war, the darker side of things. First of all, every character is different and clashes with each other often throughout the story. And just the same, your squad is built off of these relationships. Some people may like or hate others, while others may have allergies or certain affinities. All of these things and much more affect their performance in battle.
Move it! Come on, let's go!
One central theme to the game is death. Many people die throughout the story. In fact, any of the non-essential squad members can potentially die in combat, permanently. There's even a scene where Welkin and Alicia are separated from the squad and come across a mortally wounded Imperial soldier. They try to save him, but they fail, and during that time, through the dying man, they see a human side to their otherwise demonized enemy. They give him a proper burial and are met by the man's squad, who thank him and go their separate ways, despite knowing that they would be fighting each other in mere hours. I wasn't able to record this scene for you as it's too far into the game, but hopefully the footage that is shown here will suffice. Racism is another big theme in this game. In the game, the Darksons are essentially only different in their dark black hair, but are hated and enslaved because of the Darkson Calamity, a catastrophic warlike event that was supposedly the Darksons' attempts to take over the land. This, in reality, was a false revision of history. The victors of the battle, the Valkyria, were the real invaders, but passed the blame on the Darksons and became the saviors of Gallia.
We look at those birds and see how wild and free they are, but they all have their own territories. If anything threatens their home, they'll risk their lives to defend it. People are animals too. We do what we have to, when we have to. Animals are in a constant struggle to stay alive, but I've also seen them help each other, almost like they were cooperating in order to survive.
Cooperating?
That's why I'm so into studying natural science. That coexistence. I want to know how it works. If we could figure that out, mankind could put it to use for our own survival. That's why I want to be a teacher, so that I can pass that knowledge on to the children. I mean, even if we can't completely eliminate war, at least we might learn to live together as one people.
You think so?
Welks, look. Martha fell asleep, so that makes me the babysitter. See, Alicia?
Oh, he's adorable.
Just like you said, even in war, new life happens all around us. Come here. Look, that's your hometown.
Someday, we'll come back home again.
Yes. Someday soon. I know it.
I don't have much more to say here that I haven't already said, or that the captured footage hasn't hopefully supported or inferred. But beyond the physical and mental effects of games and their potential for educational purposes, games are meant to be fun. Not only are your games meant to be fun, but they should also inspire us, they should make us feel better, they should make us come closer with family. All of these things, all of these positive emotions, even if just momentary. This is what gaming is all about. It's difficult to explain everything that gaming makes me feel, and to explain really why it's all worth it, but I feel that it just is. Back in the 90s, when I was still a child, most video games didn't have much story to them, but that wasn't a bad thing. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Sonic the Hedgehog, and all the like had storylines that were solid, but they didn't have much detail. Nowadays, gaming is much more interactive, much more story-driven, and that's not a bad thing either. In fact, I actually prefer modern gaming. I still love Crash and Spyro and Sonic and all of those people, but with the way games are now, they allow more open-mindedness, they allow more time for reflection, for emotional attachment. They can do so much for us. They can cheer us up when we have a tough day, bring us closer to family and friends with a good party game, inspire us with unique and exciting ideas, and teach us. They can make us want to be heroes in our own world. They make us discover ourselves, who we are and who we want to be. They make us question the world, thinking about morals and laws and social norms more contextually. Like I said, it's hard to describe everything that games make me feel, but hopefully I've said enough, and hopefully seeing the lush green landscapes of Galia, or the cartoonishly fun world of Sonic, or the cold, harsh idealism of Batman in a world full of corruption has helped make my point. Games are a big part of who I am. They've made me want to change the world, and I hope this has inspired you to do the same, gamer or not.
Operation complete. We took their base.
you